So let's go from Hannah.
Okay, my name is Abdule. Henna Abdule, I'm 22, I'm a teacher. So, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Rakin, I'm also a teacher. Yes, I'm a teacher, I'm also a faith leader. I'm also someone that loves the community and always works for the community.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Habeeb Akande. I'm an accountant by profession, but I'm also a writer and historian. I was going to say my age, but I'll let people guess that.
My name is Tanya Williams, or Muneera, some people call me. I am a professional hustlepreneur, so I do several things. MC, poet, basically anything involved in culture and trying to bring our narratives to the forefront.
My name is Henna Al Rashid. I'm a professional palliative carer. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's somebody that's working with people who are soon to no longer be with us.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ismael Lea South. And I'm a youth and community consultant, and I'm a director of a small initiative called the Salam Project. And I'm inspired by everyone on this panel right here, right now.
My name is Amal. I'm an author, teacher, and maybe community activist. And I think I'm the youngest on the panel.
So to begin with, I will ask two questions. I'll keep it nice and short so that the rest of you can have a chance. But the two questions revolve around the fact that there's many people here from the panel who are born Muslims, but then there are also some who are converts who reverted to Islam. So for that reason, the first question, and we can go from any direction you guys want, is when did you first learn about Islam and begin to form the first Muslim community? So think back to your childhood, any kind of formative Muslim communities that you were a part of.
Okay, I suppose I can't say I first heard about Islam, but I read a lot. I heard about the Nation of Islam, about Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, other people, and just the religion of Islam. Being in Jamaica as a young man, I became a Muslim in Brixton significantly, and I would say that within Brixton, a lot went on in that early days in Brixton Mosque, and what came out of it was a group of people who wanted to form community. In fact, that's probably why a lot of division happened. We've ended up in Norwich, and it's all been about building community. And I would say that when I go on sort of tours, to be honest, when you see the plaques say so-and-so lived here and so-and-so lived here, it doesn't really interest me that much. I really want to know what they were part of. You know, that I'm not saying there's not something significant about maybe one person journey, but it's really about communities and what they were part of, their interest in.
Okay, to be perfectly blunt, I first came across Islam as a minicab controller and had constantly been asked, well, where are you lot going? Oh, we've got to pray. Where are you lot going? It's Friday, we've got to go to Jummah. So I was always curious as to how certain behaviour was only practiced around their women in inverted commas, but wasn't practiced around me. So I thought, I'm going to have to speak to someone that's going to explain to me what's the difference between me as a woman and me as a non-Muslim woman. And then when I became a Muslim, the respect and the attitudes that were given to me changed, but I considered myself to be the same person.
Okay, so I first came into contact with Islam through an organization called Nawabians. They were what I would call pseudo sort of Muslims, but like throughout their like books and various different things, I came across like little Arabic words, you know, and they claimed that at one point they were Muslims. So I came across these words, like I remember the first time I saw Subhanallah, and I was like, how do you even say that? I was trying to say like, Subhanallah, like, but it, you know, I have to be thankful for my path towards Islam, because if it wasn't for that organization, although they criticized Islam in many ways, I wouldn't have become a Muslim. In terms of forming communities, really, I think what sort of solidified that was like my connection to hip hop music. And someone who knew that I was thinking about hip hop connected me with Ismael. Ismael connected me to like Rakin, and then I guess my community really started from there.
Okay, my introduction to Islam is kind of twofold, because I was like born Muslim, but then I kind of converted to Islam. It's kind of two, because actually when I was born Muslim, because my father's from Nigeria, but I didn't actually learn anything about Islam. But all I knew is that when I was a young boy, there was a time when I couldn't talk to him because he was doing something and he wouldn't answer me. That's all. That was my introduction to Islam. I didn't know nothing about Islam, but then I knew that I had this Muslim name. I was like, okay, got a Muslim name. Years later, my mother and father, they separated. My mum actually took me to the church and christened me a Catholic. So I became one of the pastor boys, used to follow the priest with the cross and sit behind him. And then I came back to Islam through, first of all, challenging my vicar about the Trinity. Then from there, not getting a good answer, I went on and I moved and I read Malcolm X's autobiography. This was the point for me, reading Malcolm X's autobiography. I could actually, because I grew up in Lebanon Grove, when I was reading that, I was like, yes, I can relate to Brother Malcolm. And from there, reading about him and then connecting to African history. Sheikh Anta Diop, reading about him, Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio, Sheikh Ibrahim Niasse. So I realized, oh, actually, my heritage is Islam. And that cut, so I did a whole circle, alhamdulillah, that's a short version, and I came to Islam.
No one else?
I thought you were going to a few. You want everyone to talk.
No, it's fine. You don't have to, but it's just.
Oh, do you want to do yours? Or? You don't have to.
I was born a Muslim.
Okay. The next question is about kind of intergenerational change in the idea of community. Whether you think it's got better or it's got worse. Whether it's the same for born Muslims, those who have converted to Islam. So just across generations, what you've seen or experienced.
Okay, I've been Muslim since 1990. I've seen Islam from all sides. I've lived in Egypt, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Philadelphia. And as far as I'm concerned, right at this particular moment, Muslims have to shape up. There's no two ways about it. We have to shape up. We can't be going on about what non-Muslims are doing to us when I have to look at someone directly in their eye before they salute me like they owe me money. We need to shape up.
How do you follow that?
Basically, okay, let's answer the first question and go into this one, kind of connected. Okay, when I first came into Islam, I got inspired by Islam my brother was looking to convert to Islam because we were living together, and he used to force me to watch Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali lectures for when they were in the Nation of Islam. So I used to come home a bit intoxicated and inoculated from doing some naughty partying on a Sunday morning, and then he used to say, you have to watch this because now for your generation are on drugs. So the first 3 or 4 times I wasn't paying attention, but I think the 5th or 6th time some things started to sink in. And then I listened to Public Enemy, and then I started to read a book from Malcolm X called Malcolm X on Afro-American History. And because at first, to be straightforward with you, before that I thought Islam was a branch of Hinduism, because where I lived in Wilston, there was a predominantly Asian Muslim population, and there's a lot of Hindus. I did see that the Hindus and Muslims hated each other, but I know there were other branches of Hinduism that never get on, so I just thought it was a branch of Hinduism. So until my brother started to show me the videotapes and I heard Public Enemy and some of Wu-Tang and things like that, that made me come into Islam. And read about my African history, read about the Songhai Empire, read about the Moors. There's 2 African history books that really influenced me. One was called We Came Before Columbus by Ivan van Sertimore, which talked about African Muslims who traveled to the Americas 600 years before Columbus. And another one called African Presence in Early Europe, where he talked about the Moors from West and North Africa who ruled Europe and gave Europe enlightenment, so that opened my eyes. Now, when that brother there in the lovely, shiny yellow suit right there, who's modeling it, yeah, he's an aspiring African Kanye West, yeah, right? He used to be a famous rapper. He used to belong to a group called Cash Crew, and I used to be a big fan. Me and my friends were big fans. So then later on, when he converted to Islam, I converted to Islam, and then we formed a little group called Mecca to Medina. So while doing that group Mecca to Medina, we used to go around the country. So we used to meet black Muslims in London, Birmingham, Manchester, Sheffield, Bradford. And what we found was that many of them were disgruntled and dissatisfied, with all due respect, to the so-called heritage Muslims. They were feeling marginalized, disenfranchised, they were feeling like second-class Muslims. Oh yes, I'm Muslim, and this is just a little revert, okay? And then they will do things like, yeah, music is haram, but when you go to their house, they got all the Bangla videos, DVDs, but no Bob Marley, no Wu-Tang, haram. And so what I believe is that black Muslims need to embrace their culture. Of course, as a person of Jamaican origin, you have ackee and saltfish, and some people do it with bacon. So what I normally tell my people when I meet them, when you do your ackee and saltfish, just take out the bacon, and it's halal, you understand? So we need to embrace our culture that is halal, and don't be ashamed of it, empower it, and move forward and do for self, and not to rely on other people and other communities to do for us what we need to do for ourselves. We need to learn from the positives, in my opinion, from the heritage communities. There's many good things that the Asian and Arab communities that have done in the UK that we can learn from, but at the same time, we need to stop getting out of this moaning mentality and do for self.
I would agree with Ismael that I think in terms of doing for self, I think one of the things I push and people push is that we have to be entrepreneurial and build things on. If we talk about the next generation, they have to see us living life and being busy and being successful in different things. I also think we have to take on, when you talk about building community, it cuts through some of the, as we said, there's of course race matters, but as Muslims it doesn't matter in the same sense. So you have to be able to embrace those two things. And in terms of, if you really go for building a community, you have to deal with things like education and trade and finance and health. All these things have to be taken into account, and I think so. We as communities we have to aspire to build the communities that take on these things. Otherwise, you are leaving yourself open to this sort of discrimination. People always pick on the lone wolf, as it were. So you have to come together, but come together bigger than just coming on a Friday for Juma. You've got to want to build something, a legacy that can be passed on. So when we look at the history later on, or 10 years, as I think Imru alluded to, it's not just a book that was written, but it's actually a movement. Something happened, and since then, you can see the results. They're there, it's still happening. So I think that has to be taken into account. And for obviously young people, it's I remember last year I was in Morocco, and someone reminded us about making space for someone in this world. Allah make space for you in the next world, and it relates to our children. That we have to realize that that hip hop and rap are part of what they're growing up with. My reggae, what I grew up with, was different, and somehow we have to leave space for that and be flexible in how we try and pass things on and pass things down the line.
Sorry, Rax, I know you want to say something, but can I say something? I guess I want to say that, like, I've been Muslim for like 11 years now. So I guess I speak to elders. And they say, everything that you're going through, we've been through already, But I think there's something like a disconnect in between, like, the generations connecting. So I'm not quite sure what that is, but I think there's definitely a problem, and maybe it is lack of knowledge of our heritage in terms of the passing down of the information, or even us reaching up to want to reclaim that information. But what I was going to say, I think there's a problem as well in terms of what a Muslim is, because I feel like sometimes, not all of us, but sometimes as like reverts or people coming from revert backgrounds, or even people who are born Muslims and just being around other black people who are not Muslims, sometimes there's a disconnect. It's almost like we're them now, we're not you now. And I look at, for example, the grime generation, and it really hurts me because, you know, I know most people, a lot of people will look at a lot of people who are into grime or who make grime and say, oh, you know, these people, all they do is talk about negative things, which is true. Yet at the same time, how many of these grime artists claim to be Muslim? And if we don't find a way to connect with them, that's just going to be a whole generation just lost, not really understanding what Muslim is. Yeah, I'm Muslim, but not really having that link to want to reach out. So I think in general, as human beings, as people, as Muslims, as black Muslims, we just need to be a bit more open to people.
Okay. First of all, for me, it was quite interesting because when I was growing up, I knew my heritage. Before I became Muslim, I actually knew my heritage. I was very black conscious. I knew about my African heritage, which was really important. Also, myself and Ismael, we was very lucky because when we grew up, we had scholars. One here, Sheikh Michael Missa, mashallah, bless him. This is a great man sitting here. Also, Sheikh Abu Bakr, Sudani. We had scholars from African heritage who were teaching us. We didn't have no problem. We didn't feel like any Asian is better than us, any Arab is better than us. We was cool. And that is why when certain people met us, they were like, yeah, alhamdulillah, these guys are cool. And when we found our brothers and sisters, we came together. We looked after them because we knew there's things out there. There's racism out there. We understand. But what is important for us, especially as black people, as African people, is just know the heritage, where we come from. Connect back to our scholars. Once you've done that, you can mix with everybody else. Because what is frightening in Britain that I see is when I see African Muslims, they go to Saudi and then like they start dressing like a Saudi and think that that's Islam. Who told you that's Islam? Did somebody tell you that's Islam? No. The Prophet ﷺ, he's buried there. Islam, to be honest, if you go somewhere like Senegal, you will find Islam, where 99% of them are Muslims, where you will find people that know the whole of the Quran off by heart. You don't need to go. You go to Saudi Arabia because we have to go to do Hajj, and that's it. But what we're finding, which is quite scary, is when you find young Africans, young black people who are following that and think that you got to embody the whole Saudi. No, you don't. Yeah, and this is something interesting. We've got a great heritage. Okay, you go and look at Sheikh Usman Danfodio, Sheikh Ibrahim Niasse. These are amazing scholars that we've had. The first university, Timbuktu. Okay, we've got a great heritage. But what is important is that our young people, they need to connect to that. Because when they don't, okay, they think, they get confused and they think that like maybe like Biggie Smalls or who's big now, 50 Cent or whatever's doing it now, okay, and that's their heroes. When really, actually, Designer. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so so just opening this up to the audience now. If you've got any questions to any particular panel member,
Especially Habeeb and Amal.
yeah, especially those who haven't spoken. So
Before that.
yeah.
Right. I have listened to you. You have been repeating the black Muslim experience. I am asking this question as a person who does not belong to any religion, because I decided to do so. What is the difference between a black Muslim experience than mine? Because we are both black. We experience the same problems as a black Muslim.
I think we share the same experience as a black. You're black, I'm black.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is our
Microphone.
Oh, do you want to repeat your question?
Oh yeah. Right.
I'm asking a question as a person who does not belong to any religion. Yeah, let me clear that. You have mentioned a lot in your readings, the black Muslim experience.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference between my experience and the black Muslim? Because we have both experienced either racism, or we have been I can't look. I cannot list
Yeah. No, I think
Right.
we've shared the same experience, but in terms of if you're in terms of racism, yeah. In terms of gender, we don't experience the same experience because I'm a woman, you're a man. And then if we talk about Islam, I have a different faith and you don't have. Do you have a faith or no faith?
I don't.
Okay, so then our
But
spirituality.
let me again
Yeah.
clarify. I respect Muslims.
Yeah.
I respect Christians.
Yeah.
I respect Buddhists because that's their choice.
Yeah.
I do not go. I cannot say I don't want to sit here because there is a Muslim beside me. that is not possible. When I was growing up in
Yeah.
East Africa, you have got in one house. You will have a Muslim, you will have a Christian,
Yeah.
and the Christian is gonna go out and marry a Muslim. So that problem I don't have it. So when I hear you saying this, I think you are trying to impose conditions on yourself, being a black Muslim.
I think, well, I don't think it's setting conditions on myself. I think for me, I'm a Muslim, but you don't identify as a Muslim. So in that respect, we're different. Do you see? Because I already hold to different theological understandings than you would, if that makes sense.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I have visited North Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have seen people with the Muslim names being made second class. They tell you if you're not a Muslim, stand here. If you are an Arab,
okay.
Yeah, sorry, so I think what
Yes,
sorry,
yeah.
Sorry, maybe
Sorry,
just
sorry.
understand it, but-
yeah, I think what Sister Hannah was trying to say was the experience of being a black Muslim. Obviously, you're experiencing Islamophobia from non-Muslims, and you're experiencing racism as well within the Muslim community. So, like when she mentioned in her talk about the hierarchy, which exists within the Muslim community of Arabs on top, followed by Asians, followed by Africans. So you're experiencing racism within your fellow brothers and sisters, kind of thing, which you as a non-Muslim wouldn't experience. Just like a double whammy kind of thing. So when she's talking about the black Muslim experience, it's only not only talking about racism which both of you share, but also racism within like your brothers and sisters, your family kind of thing. So it's double. That's what I think she's trying to get at, and that's why it's probably that's why I think it's slightly different to your experience, because she's experienced, like I said, racism within her, you could say her family, like the Muslim Ummah.
And can I say also when you're from well, as my experience anyway, is that when you then convert to Islam, if you are a convert or revert, someone who embraces Islam, when you convert, some people then see you, they no longer see you as black. So it's almost like you've sold yourself. Like people associate being a black Muslim. And I suppose this could be for someone who isn't born as a Muslim. Sometimes when people will see you and they will decide, oh, you chose them, so you think you're Arab now. And these are things that we frequently hear, which like, maybe you're not like that, you know, because your background isn't coming from that. But especially in Britain, I've experienced that a lot. And I think there needs to be a lot of work done. And I'm constantly having conversations about, excuse me, don't you know about what black Muslims have contributed to history, full stop, you know? But I think this is another thing.
All I want to say is that you will get intolerance within all groups of people. I come from a family that's mainly Roman Catholic. I have a Rastafarian brother. We have to come to the understanding as people that we have to move beyond our religious practices, or else we couldn't cross the road. It's that simple, that we have now understood each other on a different level. But that's not to say my mother doesn't kiss her teeth every time she has to call me by my Muslim name. That annoys her, but she's getting over it. I think when you behave in a manner that is displeasing, it's irrelevant of your racial or your gender origin. People can be ignorant for whatever reason. They can choose to be ignorant based on the fact that they don't know why you have to walk the street with a lamp thing on you. You know, why you walk in the street in your pajamas. Do you know the amount of times I've had to explain to people this fine Egyptian cotton, it's not nightwear.
That's to reiterate what the two sisters said. The struggles that black Muslims, I'm talking about myself, okay, as someone that does youth and community work. Now I work with black organizations, okay, when working with issues around black boys getting involved in gangs and so forth. There's certain black organizations and certain black people in schools, in the youth service, in statutory organizations, when they know that you're black and that you're Muslim, oh my God, no. Yeah, okay, he's of Jamaican origin, okay, and he's Muslim, oh no. They don't want to know, and they see you as a double threat.
So let me ask this.
Yes, sir.
Very simple.
And forgive me, just to contact you, I've been to East Africa, Northeast Africa,
Right.
so I've seen how the Muslims and the Christians and the Hebrews there, they live together as one. And I have seen, yes, there is issues of Arab racism, which black Muslims in the UK need to start raising the attention of.
Right.
Yeah,
So my last point is that, let us say Islam is not a problem. It is the people. What is a problem?
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then it means that we as black people, we have to start educating ourselves.
Agreed.
And also, what I say, we have got bad reactions.
Agreed.
See, if I ask you, why are you a Muslim? Then you're going to say, why are you asking me why I'm a Muslim? You explain to me, yeah, well, of course I'm a Muslim because I have found this. You know, before I rejected all religions, I have stayed in the Hare Krishna temple for 5 years meditating, looking at different texts. One thing I haven't read, actually there is a sheikh last time, he gave me a Quran in English. I want to read it.
Yes.
I want to understand. I want really to know what is exactly, what does it say?
This man in the lovely trendy khaki / white jacket
right.
is an author. He's written some inspiring books.
Yeah.
You will love them. This is the man to check.
Because I want to educate myself.
So you got the man right here.
Fantastic. Now I must share that.
So I think we've got time maybe just for... No, I don't think we've got time. We've just been told that no. So yeah. So there's going to be another panel. So if you've got any questions, save them because I think some of the people will be returning to the panel. I think so. Yeah. So thank you very much, and thanks everyone on the panel for your contributions.